Deborah did some changes in the 11th hour, so I'm going to have to let those go slowly. I'll try to remember to keep a stack for Meg.
Let them come out slowly.
Yeah, I normally like to get those out ahead, but that isn't the way it's going to work tonight.
This is, no, front page.
Yeah, it's pretty much new stuff they added at the end. He's supposed to, best of my knowledge.
Who's coming?
Take that one.
Mhm.
So, we can cover the other stuff. So,
Certainly can.
Ibuprofen?
I didn't see much to read. It only took me,
Well, right now,
5
there's not
minutes.
holiday stuff out there, but the golden one is all in bloom. It's kind of dry in the last few days.
Yeah. Three. Some reports came in after I put the packet together last Friday. Just working out my job description. We survived. Okay, I've got 2 more items Deborah did late today. I'm going to call us order at 7 p.m. That she did late today. I'll get those out when I get there. That's kind of enough shuffling around for now. I spoke with Sheriff Favreau. I anticipate him to come in at any moment. You can see the items on the agenda. I'll leave those alone. Former county airport infrastructure feasibility study. The grants all had to be in last Thursday or Friday, I don't remember. We did do a submission for that study. I think we've talked about it. If you have any questions, let me know. I do have the document. I don't think I included anything in the packet about it. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Remember, this is not to accomplish anything, but this is that, as far as capital project, this is to do the study, to find out what are the things we need to do.
well, that's accomplishing something.
Well, it is. The thing that's frustrating is we're going to
I
find
know.
out we need millions of dollars to fix things, and then we'll try and get it. But
Which we know.
as we discovered a long time ago, if you don't have a shovel-ready project, you haven't done the study, you aren't going to have an application to get funding. This will do that. Ideally, it could resolve a lot of issues. We will see. The other thing I noted on there, and again, just to share, it's here if anybody wants it, the micro enterprise grant. This would be a project that if funded would run very, very much like we did before, providing money for small business to expand, startup businesses, loans for creating jobs for low to moderate incomes and so on. You already had a presentation on that, I think. The very next one we're going to work on, it got put on a shelf because there just wasn't time to move it to the front burner, is a project to look at water with city and town. We've had a lot of conversation about that. I've met with Scott, I've met with the mayor, I've met with Jim Ruff, they've met with us. This is, the catalyst behind this to a great degree is their need to do something with their reservoirs in the town of Plattsburgh. And the mayor some time back, and I have, we engaged in a conversation about if we do that, what are the impacts on the town, how might we get involved. As you know, we've been working on developing another well. The site we narrowed down and have been exploring is off the Tom Miller Road, in the May Courier Park area. We need supply. We need redundancy. I still vividly have in my head the SCADA computer reads when we had the Comfort Inn fire and watching the water levels go down and down and down as they poured untold amounts of water on that thing. We weren't able to recover very quickly. We did, but we certainly, as we keep growing, our supply is an issue. So we've been talking, and what I hope we'll do, and I am hoping we will have it in days versus weeks, is a draft, at least, proposal to put all that together and how might we collaborate to resolve the city issues, our issues, and have a real regional focus on this. There are a lot of places, as you know, where the city line, the water line, they go down the road beside each other. But if either line had a problem, we can't cross-connect. The Route 3 corridor, every time we have a break, a boil water order, it puts a cold chill through the spine of business because it causes just a few problems for the restaurants, hotels, etc. Wouldn't it be nice if we had a couple of connections, interconnections with valves such we could shut our area down where there's a break and open up another supply and not have a massive boil water order down Route 3. I think it would be great for business. But I think we have that could generate some funds that seems to play the song that the governor's office is looking for. Is we'd have an intermunicipal project. We would have a project that could become private-public partnership because of the businesses. And we'd have a project that certainly would be focused on economic development and job creation because of we've done well because of the town's water supply. We want new businesses to know that continues to be an asset versus a liability. 2 or 3 years ago, we had a summer where a business looking to come in the Route 3 corridor, if they looked at the history too closely, it might discourage them because of all the boil water orders and shutdowns and problems we had. So I think there's reason for us to collaborate.
You think that goes under the Prowler's thing? I mean, saving money over the long term?
Absolutely. Absolutely, and it would potentially resolve a number of problems that we share. One of the things we talked about, my words, is a functional consolidation. Not a true elimination of either department, but functionally to not operate as 2 units, but as 1 unit, with the concept that we want to meet all the water, fire protection needs of the greater Plattsburgh area.
Well, those were his exact words.
Who's?
Brawless. Functional consolidation.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good buzzword. That's why I'm thinking if we do this study right, it could queue us up for some money in the next round, the CFA funding. It has all the right elements, and we have some more needs. What I'd like to do in the beginning, and you may see this proposal come at you, as I said, in draft in days versus weeks, I hope. We talked about this earlier. We were all concerned that to pay to try and seek funding through the consolidated funding process would be costly. The process of getting those funds comes with so many constraints and restrictions. You lose a lot of your money for the administration of the grant. And we thought for this phase, we could probably look at sharing the cost between the city and the town through our water departments, reduce the cost because we aren't going to have the same constraints and administrative costs that would come with a grant from the state, and actually do something that would produce the database to then use next year to go get the grant. So that's the direction we're going. And I think it's, it's a really exciting opportunity. So that, now that we've got these that had some real time limits to them out of the way, all of our energy is going on that project, which would be quite good. I know it's not on there, but just an update. We don't get other chances to come together. I've continued to talk with the Johnson Control people. You all met him here one night. Sometimes I feel like I'm, on a 78 speed and they're on a 33 1/3, for those of you that remember vinyl. But I have a strong interest in knowing what they can tell us by doing an energy audit and eval. I just feel we need to grab that. We've done so much with energy. There's one more piece. So I spoke with him again today. We'd been playing phone tag. He wanted to know why I didn't give him something, and I told him I didn't get back the agreement that I signed from you signed. So how about if we start there? And that simply is that we would give them some information about our energy use, and they would begin to evaluate it and make recommendations. Take away all the layers of this. Johnson wants to sell us stuff. What we would benefit by is learning what they think we should have to reduce our cost of energy, but we go out and buy it from anybody. So we're continuing to have some conversations there if you hear anything. Last week we had a work session in the transition of some of our technology emails. We got new wireless servers up after a long time of wanting to go there. I noticed this morning things seem to be faster. I don't know if you saw.
Yep.
Boy, my computer was functioning like a teenager. We're going to be having a shutdown soon. I think I emailed everybody about that as we're doing the migration to what I call the super server, but which really is cloud-based. If this building melted down tonight, we'd have a huge cost, and we would be out of business, tax receiver, clerk's office, everybody, for quite some time while we tried to recover the lost data. I think ultimately we would recover most of it. When we're done, we will be able to download the data everybody has, the stored data, the operating desktops that we all have, any site, anytime by logging into the right passwords. We're able to get back up instantly. If this place melted down, we'd be able to go over to the Development Corporation and find some office space and go to work, maybe an hour's time. That's huge. And given all of the legal requirements, that's the position we want to be in. Hopefully it also will ring to some benefit with our liability insurance because of that. Because we do pay extra premiums for recovery of data, et cetera, et cetera. StoredTech has done an awful lot of good things for us. And this is that transition coming up next week or the week after is the last big move. And then we're in a flat maintenance. We bought the hardware, made the transitions, and that flat maintenance, of course, will be important when it comes budget time. So, and that is my number 4, the migration and email update that we did. You will be going to have to use Micro Office 365. You may be familiar with that. I'm not. The current way that we log in off-site to get our email will change. It should work better. Because of the way we're going to be basing this stuff, I'll be able to access my desktop from remote sites, not just my email, which has a lot of disadvantage in your social life, but can have some advantage in your work life, I guess. So as soon as that happens, you'll be getting some information on how to the new way to access your email offline. It should work better. It should work a lot better. So we've been real busy. We've spent a lot of time. We've spent some money. There's been a lot of off-site work. The software that we use, and there's lots and lots and lots of it with every department. Some of it was old. We had to get access to passwords and licenses. A lot of that's already taken place and has been loaded. We did the upgrades of some of the hardware here. Now we just need that day to literally shut this system down, turn that one off. So we will be offline either next Wednesday or the Wednesday after.
19th.
The 19th?
Yep.
That'd be next Wednesday, right?
19th.
Okay. So, you know, I basically told departments, you know, tell your customers, let the clients, let everybody know, that day you might as well forget it. Whatever computers we go first, and obviously the accounting office, tax receiver's office, clerk's office, court, there's some priorities. Depending on the kind of software and operating systems they use, some of them could be back online in 15 minutes. Others, it could take an hour and a half, 2 hours. And you can only do so many at a time, so to get us all on board, it basically is a day process. I volunteered to be last, just saying. Okay, any thoughts, comments, questions on that? I'm going to assume something may have come up with Sheriff Favreau.
Have you given any thought to doing like a workshop on micro office 365?
No. What they're telling me, it's going to be simple. It's just a new place to go and log in. Instead of pulling it through West Telecom now, you'll be pulling it off the cloud. But that's possible. They're really, really good with that.
Some of their stuff, I know that I have it already, and it's way different. It's not, because I noticed today when I went to do the update for the monthly or last week's meeting onto it, there's about 6 different steps now to copy and paste. It wasn't just, you don't click on and you know, copy it and then paste it to the thing. It won't do that. You gotta go through, because of security, the way it comes up onto it.
Yeah.
It
shouldn't be a lot more complex. If it is, we might want to talk
It's a couple
to
more steps.
There'll be new things to do. new
Yeah, I
steps,
mean,
yeah.
it's not like what it was easier before.
I'll contact Angela on that though, Marty. It might be good that we did that, you know, a session or two at large, unless, you know, she just says, you know, 4 steps, here it is, go here, do this, punch that, done. But I'm sure we could set that up.
It's simpler to.
I've heard that song.
Yeah, I needed private tutoring.
It's simple, the process is simple. I mean, it's very open-ended, but in order to get from A, B, C, and D, you gotta go through the steps, you can't cheat, you know what I mean, to go. It gives you the options to do it, whether you wanna do the whole thing or how, whatever. I sat there for maybe an hour today going over to try and do 4 things onto it. It took me that long to do the minutes from last Monday's meeting. You know, which, you know, I had to go drag Aaron in there a couple.
Piece of paper.
Yeah, I had to go drag Aaron into it, you know, so.
We will get there. We're almost there. And the good thing is, we'll have resolved those issues. We'll be in the 21st century. And, then we'll be in a management operation.
The form content of the thing is a lot easier to understand and to read. It gives you a lot of.
Oh, it would be fantastic if we literally would be able to access. I have never been able to access my email, you know, with any degree of consistency. I've never been able to. I mean, I'll be able to do some through this.
No, but when it comes up, top right-hand corner, it says, you know, click and receive all your email stuff. So you click it once, and it brings the screen up, and everything's right there. It gives you the whole week in review from last week. So it gives you, you know, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then it starts again on Monday. So it gives you you don't have to chase all over to get anything anymore. It's right there.
Does it automatically file it in the right files so that you have all your water sewers here? This
That's-
project here,
yeah.
I'm just curious.
That's one of the items we spent quite a bit of time last week. They came in and did a workshop. We had a tech remote. Angela was here because we're going to be reconfiguring all the files of what we share, what we save, who has access, who doesn't. So there's more information coming, but we're right there now. Everything's been getting ready for it, and by the end of next week we'll be switched. So if something doesn't work, it's probably just because it's new. But I will talk about.
Does it switch by the end of next week?
Yeah, Wednesday you said, right? The 19th.
The 19th.
Please
Well,
call me.
But you know, looking at everybody that does it offline, there are a lot of reasons why. We still have a number of people, they don't ever check their inbox, it fills, their amount of space is consumed, they check their inbox, but there are
Never
people
delete
haven't
anything.
deleted
They never
their
delete it.
sent messages, their trash messages, ever. And we go in and find there are thousands of messages there.
Yeah, that.
And that's why it doesn't work.
Although I was deleting them regularly.
Yeah. But there's, you know, different people have a different reason why it doesn't work, and sometimes it's your hardware. But we're going to make it all work, and that's right around the corner.
Well, this tells you now. You don't have to remember it, and it tells you everything. Because it'll walk you right through it, you know. You've got X amount of stuff, you haven't deleted your mail from last week that's not necessary. You wanna save this.
Are you using Office 365 already?
Yep.
No, I didn't know anybody was into
Yeah,
that.
they put it in 2 weeks ago.
And you're using it?
Yep.
Good, I'll run down, I want to see what that looks like.
Yeah, I've got no problem with it. I mean, I'm not as tech savvy as the rest of them that were sitting at the table here the other day.
You're less tech savvy.
No, that's, that's what Angela said. She said, you were the only one that sat there and didn't say a word. I said, because everybody else is talking above me. I didn't know. So when she came down, she walked me
Just show
through
you,
a couple
yeah.
things. And it's, you know, once you get the hang of it, it's a lot easier to use than the old system. It's very, very simple.
Good. Well, that's words of encouragement.
It is. I'm pleased with it. It's just getting the old noggin to do the newer style, you know?
Mhm. Well, it's changing habits. That's all.
It is, but like I said, it's so simple because if you want, it tags everything now
Mhm.
onto it. If you don't open it up, it brings it back up again onto it. You know, you haven't read this. Do you want to keep it? Do you want to save it? Do you want to delete it? So there's no, it doesn't antagonize you like the other ones.
Well, how we access remote, I've been able to with my tablet and with my phone, but I haven't been able to with my home computer since we made that one switch with TJ. I just gave up on it because I had other options, but it's frustrating. I don't like, I'm sure you don't either, working with little devices to read mail isn't very friendly. So anyway, that's all of those. Under number 1, I will get back to him. We need to have him back. We think we found another process to get enforcement help with the town's local law. And I want to talk with you about that this week, Rick.
All of our local laws are just.
Local law number 1 on noise. That's the one that's a problem. And I also asked the sheriff to talk to us about the town working with the sheriff's department to identify a designated officer patrol for the town of Plattsburgh. We've talked about that before. It's not getting better out there, it's not getting easier, and I'm not talking about law enforcement as a whole, although that I think is changing too, but it's the stuff we need in particular. There's a reason why towns of the first class get to have a constable, and we did at one time. I don't think that worked well. It's an expense I don't think you want to incur. The dog control officer periodically gets into things where he needs a uniformed officer with him. There are other situations. Steve's been to a few. We've talked a bit, if law enforcement is writing town laws, the town keeps the fines. I'll let the sheriff talk about that. He feels we could structure this to work pretty well. Over the last couple of years, Jim has sat in on conversations we've had with the sheriff. We've talked about other models, other villages that have village police and how that works. I just think now's the time, and before budget time, we need to have the conversation. This is another one where I think we might get a private-public partnership. Benderson, Consumer Square, has sought law enforcement to help with a variety of issues. They may want to share the cost to get some new service. We need to have the conversation. But a big issue, and we don't talk about it a lot, but I do regularly get noise complaints. They can go a week or two without one.
What's the cost, Bernie, of hiring a sheriff for patrol for an hour, 2 hours?
I don't know that number. We have an hourly rate in the court.
In the court.
It's about $25 to $30, I think.
Try 40.
Is it
Yeah.
40 now? Yeah.
I'm gonna say $43.
Yeah.
I know it keeps going up because they don't have enough,
But we have to
time
pay them
doing
an
patrols,
overtime. We have to pay them an
we can only
overtime
get the
rate
guys off hours. Yep.
because they're working their full shift.
Yep.
So we have to pay them.
Yeah. It seemed to me that, and Bernie and I talked about this, I don't know if we're in exact agreement, I don't think we are, but same with the noise ordinance. I think that we don't have a lot of complaints, and I don't think it's a question of getting somebody when they're doing it, but I think it would have a very dramatic effect if you say been really raising hell. The next morning, you knock on the door, police officer, you can ask them a lot of questions, and say that, then nobody likes to have a police officer come to the door, because they're not there to, say, you did well on the test yesterday, so we're very happy with you. So, I think that it
That would
would
only be
be...
one of your students, of course.
That's right. And I think it would be quite an inexpensive way to send a message to, because I don't think there's too many perpetrators of, say, this crazy noise at 4 in the morning, and I think these people would probably be intimidated. I just think it's kind of hard to get the local law and bring them into court and find them. It just is, I know that's ideal, but boy, I think it's complicated. I'd be in favor of maybe say we want somebody for 2 hours, there's 2 homes, you want to knock on the door.
You have to decide whether you're gonna do it on a townwide basis or whether you're gonna create a police protective district. We looked at it a number of years ago, and we looked at it in particular in the commercial sector, and said, okay, we're gonna do, a police protective district and have a patrol, okay? It was very interesting. As soon as we started to talk about there would be a cost, all the interest from the, from the malls and the various shops disappeared. They liked the idea, but they didn't want to pay for
They
it.
didn't want to pay for it.
Okay, and the citizenry on a general tax basis said, no, we have, that's what sheriff's office is for. And their attitude was, they didn't see a need. Very interestingly, just, on Sunday, I was in a conversation with somebody, and we were talking about the difference between the city and the town and whatever, and I commented, I said, we don't have a police force, but we don't have a full-time paid fire department. And I said, and I don't believe we have anybody in the town that has trouble sleeping because we don't have a police force and we don't have a paid fire department. I think we have people that are comfortable with the police protection they have, and they're comfortable with the fire protection they have. I mean, we have 5 volunteer fire departments that function. Once you go down the road of paying, and once you start, and believe me, there's a bit of a trap in how they're doing that court, okay? That it's overtime, okay? I mean, we have a pretty busy court. You mean to tell me they can't carve out some hours?
I think the problem with that, we have law enforcement here, they're here with the inmates, they're here for a variety of reasons. The one that is the carve-out is someone to offer court security, period, for the town. It's not responding to anything, it's not part of a court case. It's just to keep order when our judges hold court, because they're volatile. And they're not going to pay, the county wouldn't pay for that, we expect them to pay for that. and they'd just be having the request to do that with every court in Clinton County, every time there's a function. But I have a lot of trouble with, and I hope to engage as a board with the sheriff with that. I still have a problem if somebody calls the desk at 2 in the morning and there's an uproar at the house next door, they're fighting, they're screaming, they're yelling, the music's loud, they're swearing, whatever it is. I got a problem with, why isn't that under the umbrella of county law enforcement? Forget about our law, you still would go and intervene.
Yeah, I think it's true. I think maybe in their view, it's a question of priority.
I think as soon as we wrote the law that became, and we heard that one of the last meetings we had, our law is not in their computer, so they can't use that in their printouts, and you can't handwrite. You have to select from the menu, what is this call about? Why did you respond to this address? Well, noise ordinance isn't one of the menu items. But we need to have the conversation. Pardon?
They have Harris for a server?
They have humans for a server that say no. and they've
They have
repeated
orders.
this.
They have orders from above. saying
Yeah.
We do not want to expand our responsibilities.
And hours have been spent on that for years, and here we are again. But I think it would be good for all of us to have a conversation with the sheriff about those items anyway. We'll see where they end up. That's what that's about. We'll follow up. Going to resolutions, if you will. And again, I'm a little, you've got department reports. I just distributed some that I received when I came in this evening. We also have another item called, we'll see this Monday, the permanent appointment of Mr. Rowe. Art received his letter from civil service that he passed the exam. If you recall, he did pass a resolution a while ago. December 15th, 2014, he got a provisional appointment. You can see the letter congratulating him. He passed the exam. He now has permanent appointment. We should do a resolution to acknowledge that and make his provisional permanent with that title.
Was there a ranking of one?
Was there a date, provisional went to? Is it 6 months?
It would be provisional until the exam was offered, and then, scheduled to take it past.
It's not like our normal.
No, because this is not a
where we just
routine
reach 6 months
exam.
to 12.
Right, it's just provisional until the exam. Okay? And the exam came, he took it, and he made it. So that's what.
Yeah,
that
that's a pretty good score, I'd say.
The other item Deborah added was about Heritage Heights subdivision. Looks like a request for a return of deposit. Again, I just saw this about as soon as I came in this evening. I don't think there's anything unusual or controversial with that.
Do we normally have all 3 departments or 4 departments doing
Normally,
I don't see that for all of them.
no, but normally you would because they're beyond the highway, the easements for water, fire hydrants, etc. We want to make sure everybody's happy. Could be sewer, could be manholes involved in the road. Same thing with Art because of streetlights. This subdivision has all that, so they would be involved.
So who didn't sign, Jim Woods or Trevor Cole?
It looks like Mr. Woods hadn't signed it, but Jim Woods
Yeah.
signed mine.
Okay.
Apparently he signed it.
Well, I'm just checking.
I know, you always do that. So apparently he signed it after they made copies. So everybody has signed off. One of the things I learned fairly early on, and we have as most of you know, if not all of you, we have a monthly codes and planning meeting. And usually we involve highway, water, sewer, sometimes the tax receiver, etc. I think it was about the first year I was here, I thought something was in process. I guess they didn't have those. They didn't have monthly department head meetings because I discovered that first summer, highway had gone out, paved the road, and then water sewer went out and cut it to put a line in. How was that? Coordinating. So we try not to do that anymore. And that's a long response to your
That happened
comment.
in Cliff Haven.
Yeah, so we don't do that anymore.
Yes, I believe I emphasized that at the time.
It can happen if you have a problem, but the lack of communication is no excuse. So we try to share that, and where it looks like there is an involved interest with a department, we try to get them to sign off. That way it makes them look at it. We don't look stupid and waste money. And that really is what it is. When that happens, that's pathetic. That's what I have for Monday. We found again, and Deborah, God bless her, is going back to previous years, similar time period to see what did we do, because a lot of things are cyclical and you don't want to miss things. It's just a slower time right now. But as I was mentioning earlier, we've got a lot of permits. There's a lot of inquiry. It seems some things are happening, getting started a little later than normal. Usually there's a real spring rush to get going because of the short construction period. So I don't know what that's about.
We're starting the budget or something.
We'll be starting budget very soon. Very soon is about all I'm going to say about that right now. But yeah, hopefully. 2014 ended the best we have in a long time. Staff working with us, freezing everything really helped. Keep in mind, the tax cap for us is 0.73.
It's nothing.
It's about $69,000 in a multi-million-dollar
It
budget.
won't cover what the
It's
state's gonna make us pay extra for.
And I don't know how much more we can cut. We've cut staff, we've reduced services, we've raised fees. It's gonna be tough. If
Well,
sales tax it's weak. If that doesn't pick up, if mortgage tax didn't pick up, it'd be tough. But it may. The discouraging part about that, as I said, is at the end of 2015, we really made a lot of improvements. When you see the audit, I think you'll see good things. You'll see the elimination of the pages of findings. We're in the black. I just hope we can stay there in 2016. That's my report. I hear the thunder.
Can we ask a question?
Yes, it's a work session. And I apologize, I didn't ask if anyone wanted to speak, so I'll ask that now.
On the micro enterprise grant,
Yes,
how many applications did you get? I know that they said you needed them in, I believe, by July, the end of July, and you needed 10.
I don't know how many. There were some. I don't know if I can pull them out quickly. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 were cited, but that part in this grant is really documenting the need. It would be great if it were a strong list. It isn't. I don't know
Because
what
last time you
impact
had
that will have.
20 or, I mean, there's a slew, the last one you
A
got.
slew,
I think, yeah.
absolutely. So
Is this enough to go forward, or do you know?
That's all up
if
to
we
them.
have funding, I mean, is it enough for them to grant the funding is the big question. That's one they usually, they like to provide money for. It's not a ton of money, a couple $100,000. I'm confident if they fund it, we would have sufficient number of projects. There's a difference in saying, we might do this, do you have any interest, versus we have this money, submit your application. I still truly don't understand. We put all the notes out, we did everything like usual. You saw who showed.
No, not very many.
Nobody.
This is a block grant.
Yes,
Does it fall under HUD
I don't
regulations,
think this
even though it's
does,
not
yeah.
housing?
I don't think so. It's with the Office of Community Renewal, but I think there's some divisions as far as requirements.
I'm only asking because, you know, there's a new ruling through HUD that came on July 16th. It's a 377-page ruling. Good evening
Yeah.
reading.
I'll have to get a copy of that.
Which, you know, which kind of says if you take HUD money, $1, then you have to do everything that HUD, you could be under the auspices of HUD, meaning integration of housing and, you know, rich areas and poor areas and segregated no longer and blah, 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 blah. So that's why, you know, it's a little bit of a concern.
We had 3 individuals, Mr. Wood was one of them, that went to Glens Falls. I got an invitation from the Secretary of State to talk about, what was that, Tom, 1.5 million of some of the bank settlement money that was available, and they were looking for ideas on how to spend it. I think it was 1.5 million. No? How much? 150 million? Okay, I got
Well,
my
state,
decimal
maybe
in
you're
the wrong
talking
place.
1.5
Don't I
million for
wish.
like all of upstate. you know.
That sounds right.
It's real tough with money, the strings on it, the compliance issues are
Well,
discouraging.
this is a new ruling. I mean, it just,
Yeah, that's all we need is more rulings.
it's big.
Um,
It's very big.
I mean, we'll have to look at that. Some of that, we really, as you say about the ruling, I mean, the town board would pass a resolution that after review and final approval by the town attorney.
There you go.
And he will,
So then he agreed,
you know, I mean, you really rely on your consultants,
Foresight check.
Yeah.
engineers and so
Yeah.
on, because they're doing multiple numbers of them. There's been some opportunity for smaller rural areas to waive some issues. For example, the compliance with women and minority group contractors. We don't have those numbers up here. Some of those requirements are very difficult, especially the minority ones are very, very difficult to
Indeed.
comply with in the waspish upstate New York.
Yep.
But that's also why I mentioned earlier, I have no interest in this project with the city and town water, trying to get money to do a study of it. I mean, we could probably do the same study for half the money we need by going through the state.
and we get it done in time.
And we'll
To
get it done.
actually have the project get funded, which is what we have to do under this program. We have to have it in. They want them in, he said, he wants to complete it this year, but he's going around asking people what he should do.
Well, this
So I don't think they've got their,
AFH ruling
I don't think they've got their.
takes authority away
Regulations
from
already.
local and starts putting it into more centralized government, which,
Yes.
you know,
They
is a
want-
real pretty picture.
Yeah, they get to choose who they stroke.
They want governmental entities of at least $100,000, 100,000 population. And, you know,
Exactly, and we have,
Doesn't
what,
exist,
10,000?
actually,
So, you know, it's really
it's like school systems.
something that
two-
needs to be looked
2,000
at
children.
when you're doing planning and taking CDBG
Well,
grants and things of that
one of the
nature.
things that they did.
We've been taking fewer and fewer as the years
I
have
know
gone on.
that, I
too.
know that.
One
Because
of
the
the
cost
things
is
that
still.
it was like Warren, Washington County, all of them, they did something all together. So maybe they could meet, you know, throw in a little bit of Saratoga, you could meet that, but every person at that meeting told them that they need to do more small projects. And forget about this, like, oh, you're gonna hit the jackpot by saving X number, so you can have that great big picture of, you know, look how successful this is. And they said, and there's no guarantee that we can say, you know, we're actually gonna be saving money over the long haul forever. This is not something you can say when you don't even know when you, like the fellow from Ticonderoga was talking about the consolidation, said, we didn't save money where we thought we were gonna save money. We saved some money where we never even thought we would, but he said there's no way of predicting exactly how it's gonna turn out. And that's basically what the people were telling him. You can't force us to do that because we don't have the funds to get that up. I
A
mean,
lot of
we're like in a
consolidations
we're in a
still
good
sit.
position because we're working with the city and we can do the funds to get the preliminary study. Once we get that, then we can go after the money. But a lot of the places, they don't have the planners, they don't have the people to do it. So there was quite a bit of discussion on that, and I don't know how many more roundtables he's going to have throughout the state, but he certainly heard the same theme from all of the people over there.
Good. I appreciated you going down for that. That's one of the things that's very frustrating, when people read in the newspaper, you know, the state, the feds are offering X millions and millions of dollars for infrastructure for this and that. It's not there. It just isn't there. It's good politics, but it's not there. Any other comments, questions? Again, I just forgot to grab it, so.
Do you have anything to report to us in regards to the mausoleum?
Wait.
The update on the mausoleum is for, from the end of last week, I've been waiting for something which appears it's going to come from the Supreme Court. They haven't issued it yet. Mr. Fleming is indicating to me that there's a degree of confidence on his part that we will get this period of time for some sort of transition. Whatever they, in my opinion, I think there will be an order from the court. Whatever they do, we will then review it and decide to accept it or not, or parts of it. I don't have any real update, and I know they're working on it. About once a week I'll get some broad statement. At the price of $300 an hour, I'm not calling him. How's it going? So that's it. The real concern, and I spoke with Holly, I have it from you, about the mausoleum. You will see this year in the audit that's noted as a potential future concern liability. They're managing the books for them right now. They have a lot of concern that while it's in limbo, the little bit of money they have gets depleted. They have more concern with who's watching the hen house. There are funds being earned through the crematorium. We don't know if they sold 5 spaces this week. We don't want to know. We do not want our fingerprints on any of those documents right now. One of the things, and I've conveyed, I know you said it very loudly, Marty, that there should be compensation for our need to hire legal representation. I feel, at least going to complain about, see what we get, that any funds used during this process, any of those accounts that were depleted, should be brought whole again to the level they were at least at June 5th when they wrote that letter. We'll see.
I think the state is somewhat embarrassed, so I think you may, because we talked about getting, legal money or legal fees back, and I think the state, this isn't the best chapter in their history, so I think they'd be happy to buy us off.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Well, I mentioned it down there to the Secretary of State's entourage, to a number of people. I've talked to 3 of them.
Did anybody respond as if they had heard about it before?
Oh, they knew they had heard about it. So, but, I was saying, just guarantee these things, it's not a secretary. This is a totally different type of thing. So, as you said, we want to be professional.
Yeah, we're doing what we have to do. We'll see. This will, I think, change legislation. This is the first in the state. We called them. We're not used to being called on the carpet. That was a little bit of a shocker. Your conversation with Attorney General Schneiderman, I think, was the beginning of some real serious chat as well. It was a full court press. So. But I literally sometimes at night will check my email in case something came in late and I missed it. Like the cliffhanger of the series, I want to see the last show. Any other questions, comments? That watch clock says 7:45, dodge the rain.